Hi everyone, this is Jaden McCaden. You might remember me from my earlier reviews of Pretty Little Liars and Power, both amazing shows. Anywho, my latest episode to date is going to be of Arrow, Season 4, Episode 1. A lot of good things happened in this episode. I think it's improved vastly since Season 3, and we're off to a lighter tone. So I'm looking forward to more episodes. Number one on my list of things to discuss is Olicity, which of course is the ship name of Oliver and Felicity. And I myself am a big shipper, you know. Um, it was nice to see Oliver joking and laughing, opposed to the gloom and dark Oliver that we're used to seeing. So that was a nice change of pace. Felicity, she's gone back to being her usual self who always puts her foot in her mouth. And, well, she wouldn't be Felicity if she didn't do that. So I like that fact. Obviously, we saw Thea and Laurel interrupt Oliver's planned proposal to Felicity by saying that they need the arrow because there's a new guy in town, which we later come to know as Damien Dark. Obviously, Oliver's disappointed because he was actually enjoying the domestic life, which is surprising because Felicity is the one who found it quite tedious, which was interesting because Oliver was obviously the one out in the action, whilst Felicity was the one behind the computer screens, yet she was the one who missed it more. When they returned, Oliver did not get the warmest of welcomes from Diggle, which we all saw, I'm sure. Um, I understand Diggle's perspective. Oliver endangered his family. Diggle has every right to be mad, un, to be unwilling to forgive. So I get that. I have to say though, the words that he later exchanged with Oliver were particularly hurtful, saying about how Oliver can't trust, how he can't love, which I found almost hypocritical. Because if you remember early in season 3, Diggle was the one who pushed Oliver and Felicity together, saying that he could tell how Oliver feels about her. So that was. I don't know if that was just the writers forgetting what they wrote or them deliberately trying to make Diggle be a dick in that scene. Either way, they were successful. Um, Damien Dark, new villain, has powers. Interesting. That's not something we've seen before, so that's cool. I like Neil McDonough, so I feel that they chose the right actor to play him. Um, I have to say though, I didn't actually find his villainous acts that too compelling. I mean, in previous interviews and articles released about Arrow season 4 before it premiered, the producers made it sound like Damien Dark was such a person without a moral center, which I can't truly judge because there only has been one episode of season 4. So I don't know. Things might get worse. I suspect they will. But in that first episode, I didn't find him too scary. I just found him to be a villain, nothing special. But seeing his powers, that was cool. I look forward to delving more into that and seeing how that came into play because Arrow has never seemed like the type of show that would bring in mystical things. So, aside from the Lazarus Pit, so I'm looking forward to seeing more of that. Lance is working with Dark. The way that it was revealed and the particular dialogue that Dark and Lance had implied that Lance is being blackmailed for something, and I definitely want to know what that is because Quentin Lance has always been one of the moral centers of the show, clearly stating what's right and wrong, and him working with Dark, who we know is a villain, is it changes the game. It switches things up, which is also good if Arrow wants to get season 5, which I'm assuming they do. Why wouldn't they? So I do want to see Lance's reasons for working with Dark. Maybe it's to protect Laurel or something like that. I don't know. But either way, that is something I'm very, very interested in finding out more about. We saw Thea being very aggressive. It looked like she was going to kill one of the perps when Oliver, Dig, and Laurel all went to see what was happening with Damien Dark, basically. And we all know that's a consequence of Oliver resurrecting her in the Lazarus Pit. Ra's al Ghul in season 3 clearly stated that when a person comes back, they don't come back the same self they were before they went in. Far more aggressive, and just not the same. And we saw an example of that in the episode, in episode 1. I don't know where they're actually going to go with this. Is this just going to be Thea's constant influx of character, or will she somehow be able to find a balance and go back to her old self? I don't know. To be honest, I'm not really all that concerned either way, because I'm not all that invested in Thea's character. I have nothing against her. She just, she's Oliver's sister, and I understand why she's there, because she's the last living relative of Oliver Queen. If something happens to her, I don't know how Oliver's gonna get back up from that, to be honest. So yeah, that's the Thea segment. We saw little snippets of Oliver and Felicity talking about how Felicity has now inherited Palmer technology. As we saw in the season 3 finale, Ray got Felicity to sign some documents that she wasn't really paying attention to, which she should have, because you should never sign a document without reading it, but she did. And that was a change of ownership, going to Felicity, which I thought was really cool. It'd be nice to see Felicity in the managerial position instead of being another employee, which she has been working in Team Arrow and working with Palmer. Even though Oliver included Oliver and Diggle in the decisions, he was always the clear leader. I look forward to that changing, because I think Oliver needs to learn sometimes how to take some orders too, and not to just give them out all the time. Yeah, so I look forward to seeing Felicity being the boss. I imagine she's going to mess up sometimes, but she'll end up being better than she ever thought she could be. Last thing I wanted to discuss is the flash forward that we saw in the last few minutes of the episode. We saw Oliver and Felicity moving into the old place that Oliver shared with Thea, and obviously we know about the ring, and Oliver hid the ring. Obviously he doesn't want Felicity to see it. And then it cut to the scene of Oliver at a tomb, a gravestone, sorry. We didn't see the name of the person who was in that grave, but he was very clearly devastated, and we even saw Barry Allen from The Flash come in and apologize for missing the funeral, and, just try to be there for Oliver, but Oliver said he wanted to be alone. Because of how the scene prior to this one was of Oliver and Felicity, I know lots of people are thinking that it's Felicity in this grave, and I'm going to tell you the reasons why it just can't be. Number one, if it's Felicity, I am done with this show, I'm not kidding. I will not tune in anymore. Number two, which is probably more important, Felicity is the light of Arrow, like Cisco is to the Flash. If they were to kill off Felicity, Arrow would be an incredibly dark show, and I'm not sure it would be all that compelling, because in shows you need to have a balance, and Arrow is so dark sometimes that you need Felicity to be that ray of light, not just to Oliver but to us as viewers. And because so many people are favourites of Felicity, I imagine that the producers of Arrow know that if they were to do something to Felicity Smoke, that people would not be happy, and it would trigger quite the negative response, which isn't what they want, especially after what people have been calling a very dismal season 3, which I didn't think was so bad, but lots of people did. It got quite bad reviews. And also, Barry and Felicity are quite close. If this were Felicity's grave, one, Barry wouldn't have missed her funeral, and two, Barry would have been far more upset than he appeared to be. He was sad, I think more so for Oliver, so this is why I don't think it's Felicity. Felicity, she's touched a lot of lives in the Arrow universe, so if it were her, it would have a greater impact, I will say. Yeah, that's the best word I can think of saying. Anyway, that is my review of Arrow Season 4, Episode 1. Oh yeah, with my episodes, I also like to rate them out of 10. For this episode, I'm going to give it a 7. I like the lighter tones. I like seeing Oliver and Felicity happy. I liked seeing the fight scenes. I suppose a negative that I had was about Damien Dark. Nothing against the actor, or yet the character. I just didn't find him as monstrous or destructive as we were told he was going to be. So I do hope that changes. But that's really the only complaint I have. It was a good episode, and I look forward to tuning in next week. Thank you, everyone. This is JD McHayden. See you later. Bye.